Hello, hello. We're back. Back again. Uh, another warm day. Bit of an odd project today. Um, so for the one of you who was here before I clicked on this camera, you'll have seen the slow cooker, which has come down to a very coolness at this point. Um, it the main event over there in the slow cooker is a pair of ham hocks that have been in there for about 18 hours. Well, they've now at this point they've been in there for 24 hours. They were in there hot for about 18 hours, and then I've allowed them to come back down to room temperature, so I can work with them. So they are disintegratingly tender. I'm also hoping that they have imparted a lot of their goodness to the liquid. Uh, I haven't dealt with it at all. I've just tasted it. It's going to need a little bit of salt. Uh, It's also not gelling, and I'm not sure if that's just a factor of it being such a warm day or that they were pre-smoked, so they lost a little of their gelling ability. So we're probably going to have to throw some extra thickener in there to get them to gel up enough to set, because I'm making a terrine, and terrine also won't be ready until tomorrow. So though we won't see the finished event today at all. And I can't eat it today. I need dinner today. I'm gonna make it, set it, get it setting, and then make my own dinner. And I'm just gonna make something that I always make. That's something I hardly ever get to show off because my normal home cooking is much quicker, too short for this type of thing, and I still haven't gotten up to speed on making edited videos. So that's today's project. I'm gonna thicken up that ham stock, get the meat off of those guys, make a terrine. If you're not familiar with a terrine, it's kind of like a Jello molded. They're not always set with gelatin. Is the thing. It's a loaf. It's like a savory loaf set with something. Um, so it's got obviously distinct components in it when you take slices of it, as opposed to like a meatloaf that's all integrated. Uh, so that's the project. That's the project of the day. And I just obviously I didn't want to do the cooking down of the ham hocks because that took I left them overnight, so that just took hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. Um, but let's get cracking on those. Bop over here. The big black uh, bowl of my slow cooker here is throwing off the color balance on my camera, and it's a little annoying. So the vegetables floating in there are there's some celery, there's some onion, and there's some carrot, and they have also been cooked the full time into mush. I don't know that they're savable, uh, and they definitely have no flavor left anymore. The ham hocks are, oops, well, that was a mistake, literally falling off the bone. That one just fell off of its bone. I guess I need two bowls, one for the meaty part and one for the bony part. So pull that bone out of there. Let the I was trying to let the stuff drip off, but they're so tender that it just actually just slipped off the bone. Uh, These were probably edible, like edibly cooked before I even put them in here. So I just completely broke down any structure they had. I'm not sure how to pull the marrow out of those. It's very, very narrow, and I don't really have anything to do with it. So we're going to try to get these guys out of here, get these pieces out of here, and then I can separate out the. I should have just pulled the whole thing out straight, but I want to separate out these mushy vegetable pieces. They are. Oh, there's a carrot piece. Actually, taste the carrot because the carrots have a little more structure to them. Let's see if they're any good. Complete mush. Complete mush and has no flavor or different from the liquid, which is exactly what I was going for. So all the elements in here have just fully imparted their flavors to the cooking liquid. Is that a bone? That is a bone. It's a knuckle of some kind. Oh, there's globs of fat on there too. Oh, there's a bone in here too. Skinny guy. I'll have to go through this and make sure I got all the bones out. I don't want any bones in my finished product. That would not be super nice to bite into. There's also quite a bit of fat in my liquid here, which I'm going to have to separate. I lost another bone at the bottom. So the ham hock is part of the back leg of the pig. If you look at one of these guys, it's the other one. They fit together like so, like a puzzle piece. This is the knee joint, and it also had one of these in there. Forget how that was attached. So it's just below the knee. So it's got the two bones in there, and I'm pretty sure the difference is that between a hock and a shank is that the hock is this part below the knee, and the shank is just the part above the knee. Because the shank only has one big bone in the middle. But if somebody knows better, please let me know. I just got to get all these little bone fragments out of here. They conveniently sink to the bottom, but also inconveniently sink to the bottom. Okay. So some bones and some meat that's still losing some liquid, which I want to keep all together if possible. We're going to have to reduce the stock a bit, I think. It's going to need to be more concentrated. It's going to need to be also seasoned and turned into a proper, like, broth. So I will get out a pot. I think we're going to do this over the sink, which isn't great for viewing, but I'm afraid of spillage. I wanted to get the big pieces of meat out before I did any sort of straining because I was concerned that they might be too fall apart tender. And I want there to be at least visible chunks when I'm done. Okay, that went well. We're successfully pulled all the chunky pieces out. Found our last bone. And we've got quite a bit of stock liquid left. Here's our stock liquid. We're going over the stove with it. And I'm going to bring it up to a... I just let it cool down, but I need to bring it back up because I need to reduce it. And I also should try to skim some of the fat off of it because there's a good layer of fat on there. We're going for ham jello. At the moment, I've got ham stock and ham chunks. So here's my ham chunks. They're so tender that they literally fell off the bone. I picked up by the bone, and all the meat just fell off. I can pull them apart with my fingers with basically no effort. There are a few little pieces of bone left in there, so I'm gonna have to pick through that. I bought some extra hoof because I noticed that my stock wasn't gelling as much as I had hoped. I think that because these were smoked before I got them, I think some of the connective tissue was already broken down. I also cooked them for ages, which I think may have overcooked the remaining gelatin that was in them. I also think that there might just be too much water for the amount that's in there. So we're doing some reducing over there on the stove. Let me get rid of my pre-show tag and the gentleman. Get back my color corrector. So yeah. We're making terrine, and then tomorrow there'll be a finished terrine. So I'm also going to just make a quick dinner, show off some of my less complicated cookery, like that stuff or that stuff. Ooh, you can't see that. All that stuff is behind where the cameras are. Or that stuff. Oh, those are also good. Anyway, yeah. Let's get out a skimmer, by which I mean an ordinary spoon. Take us over here. And I need also a bowl or possibly a jar if I wanted to save it. You know, if I get that fat off of there, I could use that in some of the vegetables that I'm going to do. Let's try to save the fat, actually, which means I'm going to turn the heat down. So I got to figure out, because there's a lot of fat, but it's not really well separated. It's a very thin layer. I'm having a bit of a hard time getting a hold of. I need one of those like separator bottles, pitchers. They pour from the bottom, so all the fat floats to the top, and then you can pour off, and it pours out the non-fatty liquid from the bottom. And you just pour down until you have all the fat off. They're really cool. I bet if I refrigerated this, the fat layer would set up. Screw it. I'm just gonna heat it up. Um, we're gonna back burner that guy because he's not gonna do anything. He's just gonna sit there and get hot for a while. So I have some other ingredients I want to put in here. It's not just ham and in its own gelatin. We've got some fresh asparagus, which I think will also look very pretty. We've got some onions. We've got some bell pepper in a couple different colors. I've got some celery. There's already celery flavor in the stock. Heyo, welcome in. It's a brand new thing of celery. There's the receipt. Here's my extra hoof to make this thing set. I'm just worried this might not set properly, so I've got to. It's because if it ends up as a soup, it's going to be impossible to get it out of there. Um, so yeah, the asparagus is going to be pre-cooked. I think I want to do the celery almost raw. I want some celery crunch in there. We're going to construct the thing in this pan, which is short, narrow, and long. So I should have done it that way. Short, narrow, and long. Because I think we can do, yeah, we can do full-length asparagus spears in there. So that's exciting. Yeah. Otherwise, we're on one of those days where I'm not following a recipe, so I'm kind of going to be winging it. Whoa! Caught that guy just in time. Simmer. Okay. So, if what do you want to see in the terrine? We've got ham, we've got asparagus, we've got celery, we've got peppers. I've got some shrimps. We could put some shrimps in it. I've got okra. I had at one point thought about making a winging a terrine. I thought about making a gumbo terrine, like make gumbo, all the elements of it, and then layer them into a terrine. Which is why I bought whole frozen okra ages ago, and now it's kind of formed a brick in there because I never got around to it. I don't even know if it's any good. It's been frozen this whole time. It's still frozen. But yeah, see if I need to bloom this stuff before I use it. Gelatin doesn't come with instructions, which seems like an oversight. It wants me to use 4 envelopes of gelatin for 4 cups. So 1 to a cup. Hmm. Let's. I've already brought this back up to a boil, so I shouldn't have done that. Get part of this out of there. Green onions, peas. I don't think I have any peas. I have some green onions. I don't know. Maybe I'll just repeat some layers. Let's see. I kind of want asparagus to be the top layer. So they look nice. So let's do the asparagus right away. I don't know how many I'm going to need. I should count out how many I'm going to need. If I do 2 layers of asparagus in my pan here, they're just about the right length, but they're not perfectly straight. Eh. I don't know. Terrine is one of those things that I have read about, seen pictures of, and think that it's just a cool idea. But haven't made. And it's such a broad thing. It's like a category of food rather than a specific dish. Okay. Let's get out my big pan. Do I have one big enough for these guys? No, I actually don't have one big enough for these guys full length. How do you feel about a light roast? Is that guy gonna be wide enough? Barely. Barely. I'll have to use my clatter. I'll have to use my other pan that I just cleaned. And my brand new box of parchment, or do I want to use the aluminum foil? Let's go with the aluminum foil. Okay. Oh, I just realized I was doing this over here and nobody could see it. Perfect. Okay, yeah, these guys fit pretty well on here. I can't forget about these because these I want to. We're going for a light roast on these, I think. So I don't want them to get all mushy. I want them to be maybe A tender crisp. That one's especially long. That one's especially not long. Feel like we're coming to the end of the asparagus season, even in the grocery batch, because they're getting longer and they're more split on the tops, as though they're getting ahead of the pickers. Okay. Asparagus. Olive oil. I should look up a temperature. Before I just go gung ho on this. I was thinking 350 is usually a good set. I hate recipe websites. Um, yeah, okay, that's fine. Put the oven on 350. Move this aside so it has a chance to chill out a little bit. Okay, 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 okay. So we've got asparagus. I've got enough there for 2 good layers, I think. Uh, I've got my ham that I haven't quite pulled all the bones out of yet. Uh, but this stuff is falling apart so easily that I'm just going to be able to go through it with my fingers. I don't really want to shred it up. I do want to get these big, sort of fatty pieces out of here. Because I don't think they'll be nice later on. Oop, forgetting to change my thing. So while the oven is warming up and the stock is reducing a bit, I'm going to go through and, yeah, like pull out some of these big jelly globs. Oh, and a bone. Pull out the bones as well, the few that remain. I did take a taster of this stuff earlier. It's actually lost some flavor, which I can only assume has been extracted into the liquid back there. Uh, but it still has quite a lot of like a rich, smoky ham flavor. And it is, as you can see, so tender that it just disintegrates. Uh, Finding a ham hock in the bargain bin is always a treat because this is what you can do with a nice ham hock. You could have done. I could have made a potato soup. I could have made a bean soup. I could have just made beans and had the ham floating around in there with the beans. Oop, there's a big jelly piece. Last time I had one, I did make beans. I just straight up chucked the ham in with the beans and had hammy beans. This time I'm being ambitious. I don't want this to shred down too much. I want these nice big chunks, but I don't want super big chunks. So we're going to break it up into medium chunks so I can form a layer with it. I asked about the difference between a ham hock and a a ham shank and a pork hock because they had both of them and they looked almost the same. And the butcher said, "Oh, it's just a different part of the leg." And looking at it now, I believe the difference is that one of them is cut below the knee, one of them is cut above the knee. I was talking about this a bit at the beginning when nobody was here. Um, this piece has the knee joint in it, and then also the double bone of the lower limb. So this is cut below the knee. And this was a hock. The shank, near as I can tell, is cut above the knee, so it's got one bone in it. But, like, culinarily, I don't think there's really a difference. There's probably a little bit more connective tissue below the knee than above. Which would make it more unctuous and more gelling in the broth. But I'm not sure. Okay, that's enough work on the ham breakdown. We will just set you aside. Get rid of that bit. It'd be really hard to show you, but I'm changing the topic. It'd be really hard to show you from here. I have come up with I think, ingenious plan to control the heat in my house because I was hot. I put up a heavy blackout curtain in the hallway to block off the front living room. And it is very hot in there, but the hot is now not bleeding into the rest of the house. It also makes the hallway very dark. It takes a little bit of the stress off my air conditioner because I don't have to air condition that front room now. No, Tiny Whisk is already out. We're going to last time I used gelatin, so some odd things with gelatin always get to me. So this is also kind of an experiment with gelatin. I'm gonna put this back in. I'm distracted and confusing myself. So I want some cold water to hydrate the gelatin. I would use cold stock, but I already heated my stock and that wasn't cooling down very fast. But I need cold water to hydrate my gelatin. Because if I put it right into the heat, it'll seize and form little weird lumps. But then also, I need to add it after I've boiled and reduced, and I can't reboil because that'll cause it to break down. This is why I used agar for all my other projects. It's so much easier to work with. Because agar, you can just boil the heck out of it, and it's fine. In fact, you have to boil the heck out of it, and then it's fine. So, cold tap water with gelatin in it, which should have been a dollop of my ham stock before I put it back on the heat, but I forgot. We'll just have to reduce the ham stock by another, however much this is. Oven is hot. Asparagus goes in. And we're only going to put in that probably for 10 minutes. I want it to still have a good texture to it. I don't want it to be burned out. And we can discuss what I may or may not want to make. I'm not doing anything right now, which is the problem. I'm just sort of chattering. Need something for people to look at. Put my asparagus away while I sit and think. So the nicest terrines I've seen are layered. So that's what I'm going with. I have seen ones that are just kind of like a Jello loaf. Or not even Jello. I've seen some that are set with other things besides gelatins. I also picked, here's something. I'm not using it today. We're not using that today either. It's got to go away because it's got a little fuzz on it. I just picked up, if you've ever wondered about eggplant, why it's called eggplant, well, this one's very eggy. Just picked that guy up. Same price as the big purple ones. And they're sold per pound, so it's more efficient. I didn't have an idea for it today. I could potentially include it in this terrine, though. It's not too late. We'll think about it. Let's see. I'm going to season this broth. Let's get back over here to the stove. So this stuff had no extra seasoning or salt in it at all. So it definitely needs some. It's just ham, celery, onion, and carrot cooked for a day. But I want it to be properly flavorful. So I just added some salt. We're going to throw a handful of garlic powder in there. We're going to throw... I'm not going to throw the pepper in right away. I'm going to give it some paprika, though. As long as we've got it at a stiff boil, I can throw things in there and have them actually extract into the liquid. So a good amount of paprika. It's going to give us a rich color as well as some flavor. I'm going to give it some spice in the form of chipotle pepper, which will also help with the color and impart some smokiness. Although we've already got some smokiness in there. That's just some MSG. Just a little dash of MSG to amp up the savory flavor. Any other spices that could go in? Ooh, you know what we could do with it? I have an idea. I've just had an idea. I gotta go find a scissors. I'm gonna venture out into the heat with a scissors and return with an herb. Wish me luck. Not quite as hot as it was, but it's still unpleasantly hot. It's not that bad. I think we're through the worst of it. So take one of these off. Returning with an herb. This thing. This is the Cuban oregano, which is a succulent. I'm just rinsing the leaves off because they got a little bit of schmutz on them, a little bit of spider webs on them. It's not a full succulent. It's like partially succulent. And it's got a strong oregano-y flavor, but with more texture. Get it over here. So if I take a leaf off and I split it across the middle, you can see they're kind of thick. They're also a little bit furry. I don't know about the stem. I'm taking the leaves off. I guess I'll take a nibble of the stem just to see if it's any good. But oregano is a complementary flavor for savory things like meats, which I definitely have here. Ooh, got a good crunch to it. Oh, and it's not exactly like oregano, but it's in that same flavor profile. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay. I'm going to do a little something with it. Rather than just stick it in straight. But I really need to make sure I have a fully formed plan for these things. Winging it just, I feel like, does not make as captivating of a show. And then I also can't put a fun title in. So I'm cutting us into little strips here. that I'm going to fry up with some onion, which I'll also have to get out and cut into little strips. Probably more than I needed to pick, but I've been meaning to take off that side branch on that plant since I got it, and this was just an opportunity to do that. I want it to grow evenly and up and not have one weird lopsided branch on it. This is actually the very first time I'm cooking with this stuff, so I'm not entirely sure how it's going to behave. I'm just treating it like, oops. Okay, my asparagus has been in there for 10 minutes. I'm going to finish slicing this up and then take it out. Asparagus goes very soggy very easily, or like soft and floppy and gross very easily. So you need to be careful with cooking it and not overshoot your target. 10 minutes is probably too light, usually. We can try turning it and putting it back in for another 5, maybe. I don't really want to do any more though. It's softening, but it's still. Yeah, I don't want to roast this anymore. It's got the tenderness that I'm looking for, where it's still going to have some resistance. So I'm going to call that done. They have to cool off anyways before I can work with them. Otherwise, I'll burn my fingies. That pan is on. Oh, and hot. They sizzle straight away. My green onions are these new green onions. I just got a new batch of green onions. They're so skinny. I've been saving the bottoms of my green onions since the ones I started from seed aren't doing super well. I've been saving the bottoms of my green onions and putting them in a dish of water in my front window, and damn, they start coming up right away. When you do that, they start shooting up new leaves right away, and the roots all start getting longer. I don't know why I never tried that before. It's very effective. I'll be able to plant a couple of them outside pretty quickly. By the looks of it, I'll be getting free onions before you know it. Where did I put my pot holder? Pot holder. So I'm giving these guys a fry to kind of soften them up, and because I'm not incredibly confident with the oregano, it seems to have picked up all of the olive oil that was in the pan and is now kind of dry frying. Uh, Interesting. I'd like to get this stuff evenly distributed in the finished loaf if I can. I'm going to turn it off already. Move it back. So I should take pictures of my plant adventures and post about those. I think we might be on pace to have the dullest Tuesday I've ever done. Should I use this white eggplant in this, or do I think I have enough going on? Hmm. I agree. Enough going on. We will save the white eggplant for later. We will remember to turn our oven off. We will keep an eye on our boiling ham stock back. Oh, I keep switching cameras and then forgetting to. Okay. Okay. Depends what I do to it. Uh, the one consistent thing I've discovered by researching terrines is that they're all different and there's no consistency. Like the only thing in common with them is the fact that they're loaf shaped. I've never made one either. We're learning together. The idea I'm having with the celery is to literally just have raw celery in there, and it'll be slightly softened by the warm stock that gets poured over the top of it. Use my. Oh, I did it again. I think that it'll give some nice crunch and some nice freshness to the finished product. This whole dish is one of those things where you do a lot to it and you don't know if it's worked until you're done. You can't correct partway through because the thing's got to set up together. So once it's in there and setting up, that's it. You gotta leave it alone. You can't jump in and edit. And I love to jump in and edit. So I know what celery tastes like, so I'm not going to taste the celery, but I'm going to have to taste that stock before I commit, because once it's in there, I can't take it out. I should get in the habit of tasting everything, all the sub-ingredients as I go. Normally, I don't do that. I just trust that it's all working. And it usually does because I know where all the flavors are like. Sometimes I make stuff that's bland. I'm like, oh, I should have put more this in, more that in. Well, I've been invaded by these damn black ants lately. They're not finding anything. It's just one wandering around, but I see one wandering around almost every day. I can't figure out where they're getting in. Let's start layering. Okay. This part I do know, and I need to not forget this. Before we do anything else. Oh, come on. The pan gets plastic wrapped so that you can actually get this thing out of there. Ugh. Sometimes I hate cling wrap. Even though I've got a non-stick pan, I doubt I'd be able to get this thing out of here without the plastic wrap. Okay, asparagus is reasonably cooled. So I'm going to start building by putting the asparagus at the bottom because I want a beautiful asparagus top. Whatever I put at the bottom is going to be the top layer when I take this thing out. I would do this closer, but I just don't have a place to put that big pan over here. Okay. Asparagus. Ugh. One of my sides has clung to itself and slipped into the pan. We don't want that. Okay. Asparagus layer. Chunky ham layer. I picked up this pan thinking I would be making loaves of bread in it. And here we are, making ham jello in it. Just like Mama used to make. Ham jello. All the time. I don't think I have enough ham for a second full ham layer. So I could make that ham layer thicker. But I'm going to put celery in instead. This is why I cut all these little short pieces, is to fill in the middle. It inevitably doesn't have enough long pieces. But since they're in the middle, you won't hardly see them. Okay, okay. Oh, you know what? Back up. We're going to back up a sec. Celery layer is still easy to take off, so that's no problem. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the green onions and the oregano. This is how I'm going to get them distributed into the thing. I'm going to mix it with the ham chunks. Which means I'm actually going to pull this ham out of there. Why do I wing things like this? Why don't I have a recipe for this? I follow a recipe when I'm making spiced ground beef in a bowl. But when I'm making this crazy complicated layered thing, I'm just like, whatever. I'll just throw stuff at it until it seems good. Like, that's crazy. Okay. Our celery back in. Another layer of meat, slightly broken down more. Since I don't have enough to make a full nice layer, I'm going to make a thin layer of it instead. Can you guys see this? Oh, I'm drifting slowly to the bottom of my screen area. I need to put a piece of tape down so I can tell where my edges are. Okay, okay. Bring in all of my remaining asparagus, form another structural layer at the bottom. Good thing I didn't add anything else to this because we're full. I don't have room for any other ingredients. My ham stock has reduced in volume a great deal. I will give it a taste. I'll rinse my taster spoon off because it had old tasting on it. Actually, I've got a taster spoon over here as well. I'll use that one. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay, that's, ooh, wow. Okay. Rich, hammy flavor. Good spices coming through on it. I'm taking it off the boil. Let's get over to the stove. Bunch of black pepper. I think just putting the salt in, honestly, woke it up a lot. Bunch of black pepper. I'm going to add a little bit more of chipotle pepper. My hands are greasy from handling all that pork. From handling all that meat. We are going to need a whisk, but a big one this time. To get that stuff incorporated. And add our prepared gelatin. Oops. Splash it all over the place. The question is, it's going to have to cool before I can put it into the terrine, but I wanted to get the gelatin incorporated into it. If I put it in now, it's going to melt my plastic wrap. So it just needs to come down until it's cool enough to not melt the plastic wrap. So not all the way cold. The question is, how is that enough gelatin? Considering that there was already some gelling effect in the stock already from the ham bones. I'm looking up reference. Oh God, you look up some of these aspic dishes and they just look terrible. Some of them look good, but a lot of them just don't look good. Hoping I don't fall into that trap. I'm hoping this thing looks good. I'm just trying to find if I've got enough gelatin. If I think I've got enough gelatin, or if I need more. While it's still warm is the time to add more. I don't want it to be like solid when it's set. I want it to be jiggly, but together, like I want it to hold together, but not be super firm. And I have an unknown quantity of liquid. I'm going to let that cool a little bit. While I do, I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup because I also need to make my dinner for tonight. And tonight's dinner is going to be something easy. This whole project actually hasn't taken terribly long at all, which is good. No. Put you back in the back corner. Yeah. I'll show you while that's resting a bit, I will show you how I normally feed myself. Well, often feed myself. I don't say normally, but frequently feed myself. So water on to boil. I will use that pan. It's already dirty rather than dirtying another pan. A little bit of oil. Pick out a handful of vegetables. I've got a few little spears of celery left here, so I'm going to use those. We'll slice them across. Get those started. Whatever veggies you pick, the harder ones go in first, so they have a little bit more chance to get ahead of the game, and then the softer ones go in a little bit later. So we start with things like the celery and the carrot. Could have put carrot in this thing, but I didn't. I never peel my carrots unless I get them from the farmer's market, because the farmer's market ones seem to be very gritty. The grocery store ones, they do a very, very good job of cleaning them, and I've never encountered grit problems. So I just eat the skins because there's a bunch of good nutrition in the skins. Let's move that spoon so it does not get super, super hot. Almost always throw an onion into everything I make. This is no exception. Ugh, the skin on this one is just killing me. Okay. Oh, come on. It rolled off. The skin was so rigid that it rolled off the side of the counter. Probably a little bit more onion than I want for that size pan. So we might save the other half. See how well our stock is going. Still considering adding another envelope of gelatin to that. The vegetables need a pinch of salt. That'll help bring the moisture out of them. Protein elements. What have I got? I don't know. I'm not sure what I've got. Oh, I know what I've got. Haha, perfect. We can actually even add that late. It's already cooked. On the side here, my water's coming to a simmer. I grab a packet of ramen noodles, take the flavor out, chuck it over there. Noodles in the thing. The amount of water is irrelevant as I'm not making a soup. The flavor packet is irrelevant as I'm not making a soup. Yeah. Got a little box of the all the flavor packets. My ears are sweaty. All right, my ears get a little bit sweaty now that it's so warm. I've got a little box of all the flavor packs from all the ramens that I've had up there, and I've occasionally used them, but I collect them much, much faster than I use them. And then the fun part is you grab 3-ish sauces. Once these have sort of started to come together, get a little bit of cook on them, and you just start throwing sauces at this. It's super easy. The meat I'm using is going to actually be pork floss, which is already cooked. So I'm not going to be adding it to this, but I've got it in mind as a flavor. If you're not familiar with what pork floss is, let me show you. Let me show you. So this stuff, pork floss, comes in a little plastic tub, and it looks like, oops, it falls out, it's like cotton candy texture. But it's meat, and it's seasoned with soy and something sweet and something savory. It's a really interesting texture. It brings a lot of flavor. It's good with rice. I'm not having it with rice this time. It's completely dehydrated. It's basically shredded pork with like a Chinese flavor profile that's been dehydrated completely, not like way past jerky, like completely desiccated. Um, it's a very interesting texture. Um, you can use it like you would use furikake as a rice seasoning. Um, I'll be putting it on top of this whole thingy here when I'm done. But it brings its own sort of salty sweet flavor, so I want to not overwhelm that. So we're going to go a little bit lighter on the flavors I'm throwing in this part, which is, oops, one of my favorites is going in right now. There you go. Lao Gan Ma, spicy chili crisp. They're not terribly spicy. They are, however, very savory and crisp. I love that stuff. Sometimes you just can't find it. Sesame oil for flavor. A little bit of soy sauce. And to complement the, I want to put a sweet in there as well to complement the pork floss. So I'm going to give it a couple of pinches of just plain old white sugar. And we can throw in some dry herbs. I didn't crush a garlic. This is done. Turn it off. I just got a new garlic crusher, actually. I found an all, here, I'll hold it up in front of this camera. It's an entirely metal garlic crusher with a swing out crushing plate so you can easily clean it. It's the kind of thing I've been looking for, because they always make the crushing surface either non-removable, non-replaceable, or something really cheap. This one, on the other hand, has an easily accessible crushing surface. And it's entirely metal, so I doubt I'll break it anytime soon. I broke my last one, because the arms, I had one that was a pressed down one, the arms were made of plastic, and the thing just snapped at one point. Green onion. This needs a green onion. Oftentimes I have onion and then also green onion in the same thing. They serve slightly different purposes. Just take the heat off because that doesn't need to cook anymore, and that's done. Get out a bowl so I'm ready to go when I get this far. It's going to be hard to see. The easy way to drain your ramen noodles is just to tip them over the sink and hold them back with the spatula and let the water flow out the bottom. If you have a need for starchy water, that's a good chunk of starchy water that comes out of the bottom. Okay, off. Oop, bumped the mic. It's not ideal. Okay. So noodles in a bowl. Put your stir-fried topping. Like, it's not proper stir-fry because I did it in a flat pan and I fried them super tender, but this is often how I do it because it's so much easier than getting out my big wok for things. Just to use a small pan. green onions on top, toasted sesame seeds on top, and fruit fly. And a couple of good pinches of this pork stuff. And it's quite flavorful, so you don't need very much, which is also good for having a low meat content in your diet. It's got quite a lot of flavor, and it's very concentrated. Where did I pick this up from? Can't remember where what cabinet I pulled this out of. I'll put it there for now. Okay, that there is a meal I frequently eat. I've buried all my sesame seeds. I should freshen it up with a couple on the top there. And a grind of pepper. So that is a meal I frequently eat. Not this exactly, but this sort of thing, where I grab 3-4 vegetables, a protein, a couple of sauces, chuck them together on top of noodles. Bish bash bosh, you've got food. And it only took me, 10 minutes? Put that together? Easy peasy. Let's give it a taste. Hot. And yeah, it tastes approximately like it always does. It's always a little bit different, but it's always in the same sort of family. The pork floss is actually a really interesting addition to this because it gives a different sort of texture. It gives you this weird little chew. Let's see, that one's hot. So the broth over here, I saw your question. The broth over here, I can stick my finger in it. I'm still concerned that it might not have enough gelatin in it to set. But I don't want to overshoot either. So it's not very cool. It's still pretty warm. Does this stuff have a temperature rating? Does the plastic wrap have a temperature rating? Because I could just literally do a thermometer test on my most cling films start to melt at around 220, according to this. And I can take the temperature with my handy dandy digital read, and we can see where we are. Going up. Still going up. Looks like we're at about 130. I'm gonna do a little bit of reading. I think it should be fine at this temperature, honestly. It needs to be a bit warm when I put it in, regardless, so because if it goes properly cooled, it will fully set up, and I don't want that. Uh, so yeah, we've got about 130 degrees, which I think is low enough that you could do like a. Because I've seen people use plastic cling wrap to then sous vide stuff, and I think we're below the most sous vide temperatures, so we should be in that range where it's fine to use it. I could let it come down a little bit more, but the lower it gets, the slower it drops because it's quite warm. If this was the winter, this would be easy to pull off, and I could just like stick it outside for 2 minutes and have it drop real fast. Um, yeah, it's only a couple degrees warmer than outside. It's actually not quite as hot today as it was yesterday. According to my temperature, we have not quite hit 90. And my AC has actually clicked itself off a couple of times today because it caught up. Oh, I've just realized I've had that light on, blowing out everything I try to hold up to the camera. So it's a question of, okay, there's two questions. Do I want to try adding more gelatin? I don't know how to test if I've got enough gelatin before it's too late. I added 1 envelope of gelatin to that, and it wasn't gelling at room temperature, and room temperature was about 75 degrees when I had the AC going. But I wouldn't expect it to gel at that temperature really strongly anyways. Um, but I've also reduced the liquid content by quite a bit. And the recipe, I did follow the recipe on this Knox brand gelatin once before, and if you follow it 1-to-1 and make their 1 envelope per 1 cup of liquid, this resulting gelatin is extremely firm. Like you could make a house out of it. It's like structural firm, which is not what I want. So uh, I'm going to. I'm going to say that I don't need any more gelatin. Uh, and I'm also I'm going to say that I don't need any more cooling. I have much more than 1 cup of liquid. Um, the point is that 1 cup of liquid and 1 cup of or to 1 envelope of gelatin made a Jello that was so solid that I had a hard time eating it. It was so firm. Ooh, I got my amount just right too. Wow, I got my amount just right. That is right up to the edge. Are they floating at all? No. Wow, okay. Okay. Ooh. Okay, this is why I have extra around the edges here. No, 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 no. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. You fold it over. You fold it over. This is why we've got the cling wrap. You fold the sides in. And then you get out another sheet of cling wrap. Nah, see, this is working. This is working perfectly. I probably put too much liquid in there, but it is too late to take it out. We're making a little bit less of a terrine and a little bit more of an aspic. We're leaning to the aspic side of the equation with this one a little bit. So Felix's earlier assertion of ham jello is coming true. It's definitely not too hot. I'm happy with the temperature. There, see? Easy peasy, and I can pick it up, and I can slish it around a little bit, and it does not spill. Perfect. Now it goes in the fridge and sets for ages and ages and ages. So we won't actually get to see the finished product here until tomorrow. But there you go. Ooh, that was our project. That hopefully it sets. If not, I'll have a weird ham soup tomorrow that I'll have to fish pieces of plastic out of. That'll be fun. For this evening, I've got this, which came out quite tasty. A good dinner for me. And that's going to be my wrap up. I've got a bunch of cleanup to do. Bones and globs of pork fat and a bunch of vegetables that have been boiled to death. Yeah, so that's fun. I was going to change. I should change the schedule immediately after the thing. I'm changing my schedule this week. I'm not going to do the Thursday because Thursday hasn't been such a good day. I want to try Saturday brunch this week. I'll change my official schedule to reflect that, but we're going to try Saturday brunch. Tomorrow, watch for picture of that guy to get posted. And I'll go take a photo of my dinner and make that my post for tonight. Otherwise, we're come to the end once again. We've come to the end once again. This didn't take incredibly long, so that's good. Let's see who's on that I could drop off with. let's go see if Twiggy managed to get Doom 3 working. Twiggy was trying to play Doom 3, and it was bugging out. I remember that. So that's where I'm going with the raid today. The growth of the channel has been great. We are right on the edge of making it to that next stage, and I am excited to get there. And I just got to figure out how to get a schedule that gives me that slight bump I need. Um, so watch for me. I'm also considering just doing less scheduled stuff and more. I feel like doing a thing tonight and just jumping in. So watch for me to maybe go live randomly. Otherwise, watch for me on Saturday morning, probably Saturday late morning, for brunch. We'll make something brunchy. I will see you then. Oh, I should have signed off on this one. I'll see you then. 3, 2, 1, raid.